Peace, peace, peace. You are tuned into episode 34 of hashtag You Good Man. So this is one of the interviews that I've been trying to get for like probably since I met you. What, last August?
Yeah,
right.
it's
So
Black Enterprise event. Yeah,
yeah. So it's a long time. Most of it was mostly me as far as scheduling and what have you. But
yes,
we got it done, right? We got it done. So right now on the line we have Mr. Reginald Foreman. So he was born in Chicago, Illinois, raised between Alabama and Florida, but now he's residing in the St. Louis area, correct?
Yes, sir.
So he has such an amazing story. I'm not going to even get into it. I'm going to let him talk about it, because even when I first met him and I first had the chance to engage with him, it was just what I was hearing was amazing, right? I think when I met you. First, let me go back. Let me go into the other stuff. So by the grace of God, he became a fashion designer, an author, an empowerment speaker, CEO, mentor, and life coach. He's had at least 28 interviews, which include radio, TV, and magazine platforms. His story has been on the CBN 700 Club and TBN's Juice TV. Also on the front page of St. Louis American Business section. And he was recently honored as one of the 2018 Black Enterprise Magazine's Be Modern Man. So again, Reginald, I definitely appreciate you being on here, man. So I'm gonna get right to it. Like I talk about you often, right? Because you might not even, it's real. You might not even remember this. So I met Reginald down at the Black Enterprise Be Modern Man. We were both being honored for the works that we're doing. And I was sitting there and I was working on a presentation on toxic masculinity that I was getting ready to do for a school. And so he came up, again, that was a beautiful event because it was just brothers from all around. And you just happened to be one of the brothers that came up and we just all started talking. And one of the things that you said to me was, we were talking, I was telling you what I was doing, and you was like, yo, when I was young, I wanted to, I liked the arts, I liked being involved in things like that, but I couldn't because I had to survive in the area where I was living at that time, right? And so you don't want to be, in surviving, I couldn't be the person that enjoyed dance, who enjoyed art. Right, because I might get bullied. Were you in Chicago at the time?
Yeah, I was in Chicago, and I said that you tell everybody that you a poet or you write poems, you'll be a punk. If you ain't selling dope, playing sports, or you know what I mean, being a gangbanger, you wasn't nothing where I was in the Chicago project. So I shelved my gift. I hid it.
Yeah, and so often, so many of our black boys do that. I was at a school today speaking to middle schoolers. I always had this thing about when I speak to kids, man, it'd be rough because, they just keep it real, right? Which is a beautiful thing. They're honest. And so, they might be a little rambunctious, a little hyperactive. But I saw, the kids that would come up to me afterwards, they really wanted somebody to listen to, right? They wanted somebody to listen to them and they wanted some advice. So they're asking me questions because during when I was speaking, I mentioned, listen, you don't want to be the cool kids that's chilling outside in front of the Chinese store, right? And they came up to me like, what's wrong with that? And in my mind, I'm like, wow, right? You're in 6th, 7th, 8th grade and you asking what's wrong with that. So what are we doing, especially as black men, to let them know that that's not the life? You should embrace the gifts that you have, because you don't want to be in your teens, in your 20s, in your 30s, still trying to figure out who you are, and in the midst of this, you're engaging in unhealthy behavior. And I know part of your story that we're definitely going to get into that was about engaging in unhealthy behavior. So I'm gonna let you just talk a little bit about just who you are.
I mean, and I wanted to expound quickly on what you just said about them not knowing who they are, and they said, "What's wrong with that?" I mean, I was when I left the Chicago projects, moving with my father, they were middle income, corporate America. My stepfather was a corporate America. My father was corporate. My stepmother used to be a Dolphins cheerleader and a model. And it was like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I moved into a middle income, they played with money. But I looked up to the drug dealers and the gangbangers, the thugs. So who I saw is who I wanted to be them. So I would have probably said the same thing to you if you'd have told me, man, why you out here hanging with these thugs on the corner? What's wrong with that? I see them me coming up being bullied, I'm going into my story, being bullied. So I knew that I wanted to be, if you touch me, I'm going to hurt you. I took karate and boxing. I wanted to be a lethal weapon because I grew up being bullied in the Chicago Project. So I knew that they were feared, and I knew that I needed that. And all the cool girls wanted them. The jazzy females in the hood liked them. So it was so much to look up to them. I didn't want to be no square, be no lame, and be in corporate America and do my homework. So I understand where they come from. And that's why when I speak, I try to get the kids to let them know that you don't have to be soft to be educational, professional, even when you believe in God. Look, and that's why I dress a certain way when I speak. I wear my own brand. I don't wear Jordans because I ain't paying all that money for no shoes, but I wear Puma. I rock Pumas. I wear certain things so they see that, yo, this dude is on his own business. He cool. You don't have to go to prison like I did. You don't have to. So it's a way you bring it to him. But yeah, well, Reginald Foreman is a man of God. Ex-thug, that's a part of my lifestyle. I'm a brother, I'm a father, a businessman. I started my own 2 fashion lines. I've written 2 books. I think we said I'm starting a toy line called Reggie the Lion, life coach, keynote speaker. God has blessed me with a lot of things, and my main message is telling people there's purpose in your pain. And that's traveled with me a lot. But yeah, what you're doing with the mental health, I went through a lot of that in an abusive household in the Chicago Project. My mother was on drugs. She ended up in prostitution for a drug problem. So I would have beef with her, and then I would have to go out and run from gangs and fight in the streets. So it was like back and forth.
It's just trauma on top of trauma.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things that you said that I really want to hone in on is you started listing all of the things that you are, right? And I think for so many of us, especially as Black men, we get put in a box as to what we are, right? We become known for that one thing that we do. We don't see ourselves in other lights, right? Even if it's something, even if it's something as I'm a son, right? We're both fathers, you know, and just I'm somebody who likes to watch YouTube videos. And so it's important that we hone in on the various aspects of ourselves, because again, that can impact our mental health when we only focus on one. That's why, you know, the question now is, I heard Adam Silver, who's the commissioner of the NBA, he said he wonders why, and he wasn't saying it like he was questioning, but he was more so just saying, like, these NBA players have so much money, you would think that would bring happiness. But again, if all they're known for is being an NBA player, right, and they don't see the value in who they are outside of that, then of course, if it's not in the NBA, it's going to be, well, you know, I'm going to go out in the street. I'm going to continue to go do these things that are unhealthy and that are maladaptive because that's the only way I'm seen, right? That's the only way I'm being seen. That's the only way I'm going to feel like I belong, right? If the gang is the one that says, yo, you could be down with us, it's that sense of belonging. It's that sense of that's your identity. At that point. So
there it is. You don't have an identity outside of them. And I know I look younger, but I'm 43 years old. So, but it took me a while becoming a Christian, becoming a business, and that's a whole nother thing. Being a Christian around certain religious groups, they judge you. You in there, you got to become like them. You got to walk this way, talk. That's a whole nother story. Because when I got into the Bible, I came straight out the dungeon in the prison. I didn't get raised in church and get taught how to speak and talk. No, I was in the prison when I accepted God. Knife fights, battles. So I know he's real. I didn't get spoon-fed that. So, but when I came out and got into we call it Pentecostal type setting, you had to walk and talk and live a certain way. And that wasn't me. I still had the toothpick, still walked and talked a certain way. And so I had to learn to get my identity out of that with a relationship with God and who I am. Even with business, Reggie's successful now. He ain't the dude that was the black sheep. It was so many levels to me finding me. It was serious. Then when you become a husband, you got to be this certain way. You got to be that way. And it took a lot. When I hit 40, brother, I was like, listen, I'm tired. I'm tired of trying to be all these people. And that's what you just said. If you don't, I've been left the dudes from the hood alone because now I influenced them to go better. But in the church now, if you ain't a part of this, God sent people where I can be. On one of my posts I put is Confession of a Christian. It's my transparency post where I messed up, almost wanted to knock this dude out last week. I saw this girl I say certain things where I let people know that I struggle. I may counsel you, be the life coach and all that, but I struggle. And that's why I don't have to make it look like I'm perfect, because there's so many people that hold that Bible, and in business, they don't tell you you was homeless for this many years while you was doing this, or you was struggling like this, or you did this problem with, or you struggle with pornography. I get deep with it. And so that's why the mental problem, because a person is trying to live up to an image that's not real.
Facts, facts.
And them gangsters on the streets, half of them ain't tough as they say they are, especially the rappers. See, I get deep into that. They living it with mad.
Yeah,
man, please.
Yeah, you know, listen, trust. I got a love-hate relationship with hip hop. The older I get, right, because I'm able to see the influence that it's had on me, right. So the presentation I did, the workshop I did with over 100 kids this morning was about colorism, right, light skin and dark skin, because it's a boys' school and they're having issue with it. And so, you know, I talk about how, listen, again, being honest, how when I was during my teenage years, where, you know, I'm 35, where music videos were heavy. You wanted to watch music videos. So all I'm seeing are light-skinned women. I'm looking at dark-skinned girls like, nah, I'm good. I'm okay. And I'm realizing how that. Fact. It is crazy, right? It's crazy. Yeah. I showed them the video of Malcolm X's. Says, you know, who taught you to hate yourself? Because when you do that, when you say, you know what, listen, everybody has preferences. I get that. Right. When you say because he or she is dark skinned, then that's a bit of self-hate that you might not even be aware of. And then when we talk about the influence, I had one of the kids come up to me and ask me why there's a rapper, YNW Melly, who's in Florida right now. He allegedly killed two of his friends. Right, and set him up and killed him, and he's in jail, and you know he's potentially facing the death penalty. And they came up and asked me, well, why does he have to face the death penalty? Right? Why is, you know, he can rap, and again it goes back to what they're being exposed to, right? And so it's so important that, you know, we be mindful, and that's again why I talk about that love-hate relationship that I have with hip hop, because it is saving so many. But look at us. Right, like you rock the hat, you rock jeans. Too. When you go to these places to speak, I'm no different. I'm like, I go in there, I had some cut off shorts.
I see you know what I mean?
I'm sitting there talking to them. I'm like, oh, you thought I was gonna come in a suit? It's like, yeah, because that's how they dress. They got to wear shirts and ties. I'm like, listen, but you want to be able to put yourself in a position to where you can make your own decisions, right, and still make money off it if that's the path that you want to take.
That's what helped me. If you see this shirt, this is my polo shirt with my design on it. So I'll purposely wear this in front of the kids, and I tell them about, I'm wearing my own brand. This is my brand. Now, I hate to say this in front of other professionals, I don't really own a suit. I wear a lot of blazers. I got shirts and ties. I don't really wear, I call myself the Russell Simmons of it, like how he was. But I afforded myself to be able to do that. But my father, because my father was so corporate American, he was teaching me, like, because I love to fight. And he said, you can't beat the white man with these. You need this. He said, they got a cage for you gorillas. And so, but he'd always tell me how to get in to fit in with a suit. And I was anti-suit because of him. Like, well, I got to fit in. So I always knew I was going to make my own. But I tell him I'm so happy for our black men that is just pants hanging down and thugged out, that they do wear suits. Because I had said a quote to help somebody. A black man from the hood, his first suit should feel like when he first got a gun. I'm going to say that again.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Should feel like when he first, because of the power it gets. A suit, clean suit, you walk in certain doors. Quick testimony. At my church next door is these big house, new houses, 500,000 to $1 million. I went over to look at the house. I had on my brand, a hoodie and a God-made hat. She treated me kind of funny. But she knew I was a football player, basketball player. Man, I came back that next week with a polo shirt, blazers, my eyes out, I forgot the name, my loafers on. Her eyes lit up. Oh, yeah, I remember you, Mr. Foreman. It's just the way I was dressed. It happens. Yeah. So sometimes you have to fit in. If you can't control the boardroom with who you are and how you carry it, then you got to get in where you fit in. But myself, like you said, I don't wear suits. I've been on a panel where I did something in New York, in Harlem. All the brothers had on suit. I had on a blazer, God-made shirt, hat, and Timberlands. When I opened my mouth, I shared a video. They was like, oh, I was able to back that up through the grace of God when I speak and say what I've done. But everybody can't do that. So I applaud the young brothers wearing the suits. I applaud them getting education, because you don't own nothing. You don't have the power to step in. You got to get in that door the right way.
Facts. So I know you mentioned your stint in prison, and I want you to touch on that and that experience, because I had people messaging me like, wait, what? like got let out and then taken back in. So can you touch on that experience?
At 19 years old, I was off the chain. It ain't no secret. I robbed a bank. When I robbed the bank, I robbed the people that was working. I was getting everything I can get out of Miami, Florida. Now, what happened on the state transcripts, they lied and said I robbed them a couple of feet from the bank, like their person wallet, then ran inside the bank. I said, a crackhead won't do that. Somebody gonna see me rob them outside. But they lied on the state transcript. I robbed them when they went inside the bank. They were at work. It was one episode. I was supposed to get charged for bank robbery because it outweighed the taking their personal stuff. But because they said I robbed them outside the bank, I ended up with 9 years in state, 9.5 in federal prison. Was never supposed to get that. The federal transcript told the truth. So the state judge was like, what we're going to do is run our time concurrent with the federal sentence. So while I'm doing 9.5 in federal prison, the 9 years in the state should have been going at one time. I wasn't even supposed to touch state prison, which, if anybody knows, is worse than federal prison. So as we come back from the transit bus and it's coming back from state to go to Fed, they let all these other guys get on the bus to go to federal prison. They stopped me. They looking at the paper, said, Mr. Foreman, you got to do your state first, then your Fed. So I'm like, that's 18.5 years. So I'm 21 years old with 18.5 years. They separated, running wild. First time, I did fire the gun in the bank. I shot the gun in the bank, but that carried from 5 years to the extra 4 years. I shot a gun in the bank. So I get there. Now 4 years go by. I'm in the Bible. I'm getting strong. I'm this man of God. Old head came to get what we call older guy in Miami, old head. He jailhouse lawyer, knew the law back and forth, filed appeal for me. 4 years go by. I get back in the county jail. I'm there for my state case to figure out why they ain't running concurrent. I have to say this part. I got a letter in the federal prison saying, Mr. Foreman, your case is mute. You've exasperated your remedies. You can't file no more. You have 2 years to file, and I didn't file enough appeals. So they're saying you stuck with 9.5 years in the feds. And what we say on the streets, the feds is the real gangsters. So now I'm stuck with that. I remember running to my cell. Next door to me was a Puerto Rican guy, was like my mentor, strong in the word of God. I'm yelling through the bar, hey, man, I'm calling his name. I say, man, they just closed my case. They say I can't file. I'm panicking. This man got quiet, spoke soft. He started laughing and praising God. So now I'm trying to look through the wall like, so what you laughing and praising God for? He said, now you're going to see the hands of God. Now you're going to see his power because you have no way else out. So now, because you're reading the Bible, part in the Red Sea, this stuff seemed like a movie. This man, I said, now I got to believe. See what happens? I tell people, whether you raised in church or nothing like that, when you got to go to God, it's till your back is against the wall and I can't reach for nobody for no help. I had to believe. Either I'm going to commit suicide or I'm going to wild out and kill somebody in here. So I get back in the courts and the state judge said, Mr. Foreman, we did agree to run our time concurrent, but somehow the federal didn't agree. What we're going to do is overturn your 9-year sentence and just charge you 3 years for what the gun carries. Now, I was 4 years in. I was a year over. I could have went straight home out the courts. He said, well, we can't let you go because the federal prison has a hold on you. They got a detainer. They come to pick you up. But now I'm excited. I'm like, I done beat the state. I'm seeing some things happen. Now, what happens is on a Monday, they take you to state prison. On Tuesday, they take you federal prison from out the county jail. They call my name on a Monday. I'm like, why are they calling me to pack up and go back to a state prison? I just got my case overturned. The saying is, while you trying to figure it out, God is already working it out. So, all right, man, they sent me to a lower level camp. It ain't nothing like where I was before. But all I know is how I'm going to beat the federal and the state. So I'm writing my lawyer. I wrote the judge. I even wrote the prosecutor against me. Like, man, y'all got y'all time. Why am I still here? Nothing. I never got an answer. So 4 months go by. And for whatever reason, 3 is my number. I didn't push past it. 4 months go by. I'm sitting in the classroom where they teach you how to open a bank account when you get out. The lady comes in from R&D, which is they receive you in to deliver you out. She comes and Mr. Foreman, we need you down at R&D. As I'm walking to the door, I used to be a big brother to this little young Haitian cat. When none of the old heads would deal with him, he was wild. But I always tell people the youth need discipline, but they need love. And I was like his big brother. As I'm walking to the door, he yells, hey, boy, today your day. Things happen when it rains. I'm like, what that mean? Is that some voodoo or something? What that mean? He said, it's pouring down raining. It's your day. I said, all right. I go down there. The lady typed on the computer. She said, Mr. Foreman, you have immediate release. I said, okay. But in my mind, just 4 months ago, was a hold on me. I said, let me ask this lady. I said, there's no detainer on me in the computer. She said, no. I said, there ain't no hold on me. I said, no. I said, I'm going to shut up and ride this out. Yeah. She take me to change the clothes. They give you the $100 when you get out of state prison. I walked to the front seat of the police car and got in the front seat. I said, yo, this feel real. Feds ain't waiting on me. She took me to the bus station and said, Mr. Foreman, have a nice life. We don't want to see you again. When the bus drove off, I jumped, oh my God, just beat the feds. I'm going home. I get out into Miami. I ain't had no help. Everybody was living the same way. I tell people, whether you're coming from a drug problem, abusive relationship with prison, we need accountability. I said, if I don't get help, I'm going back to prison. Because I ain't got ain't no hustle. I got a fair charge. At the age of 16, brother, my aunt and them up here in St. Louis offered me to move up here. But when I say that they're a strict religious church, I was thugging. I said, they ain't going to let me play my rap music. I ain't going to be able to date no girls. I ain't moving up there. But God had made a way for me to escape, which he always opens the door and we bypass it. So now I'm calling them like, look, my aunts them in church and I know they work. They going to hold me accountable. I called them, said, okay, I moved up to Miami to St. Louis. I'm working at the Labor Ready, temp service, making $6, $7 an hour. I was dating the pastor's daughter, not even thinking about crime. My pastor's daughter started having dreams. I went back to prison. I'm like, what you having? I ain't even thinking about crime. She had 4 dreams where I went back to prison. One of the dreams, she said I went to a boot camp. Then I found out prison was my spiritual boot camp. So I'm like, you crazy. 4 days, 2004, 4 days after Valentine's Day, 6 a.m., I'm laying on the bed. 1 foot off, 1 foot on. If you ever heard a U.S. Marshal serve a warrant, they'll wake you up out of coma. I jumped up. I went down there. The door was already open. U.S. Marshal standing at the door. They said, Mr. Foreman, we have a warrant for your arrest. Took me and handcuffed me, put me in the car, turned around and said, you were let out of prison erroneously by mistake.
Wow.
So now.
And how long were you out at that time?
I did 30 months. I was free for 30 months. Changed my life, relocated, about to be the deacon in the church, dating the pastor's daughter, working the hardest job. I ain't even thinking about crime. So now I'm riding in this car. I ain't thinking about what the Fed's saying. I'm looking at this God I believe in. Is you an Indian giver? How can I change my life and do what I'm supposed to? And I'd rather have what we call carry 12, judge and jury on the street. Let's shoot it out. I ain't going back in there. Take me back in there. I'm sitting on the bed in there crying, man, just gone. I ain't got no family. My mom and dad going on. I can't believe in God. I'm suicidal. An older guy came up to me again. That's why I tell people you have to accept the help that God sends. You might not like the package, but he's always sending help. Man comes up to me while I'm in my cell. Man, God told me to talk to you. You got this glow on you card. I could have looked up and said, Negro, I don't want to hear nothing you got to say about God. But for some reason, I stayed focused and I said, man, whatever. Man, I started going to the class, started building up. I usually show it. I got like 30-some certificates this thick. I was bettering myself. I was voted prisoner, most likely of the month, most likely to succeed. They have awards like that. And I tell people, while you're waiting on your answer, how are you occupying yourself? How are you showing God that what you're acting for, you deserve it or you want it? I start bettering myself. He filed an appeal. 4 years later, I ended up winning an appeal. And they wanted me to do the whole 9.5 years. They said, we didn't agree to the state time. You got to do all this time. They didn't even want to give me the time I did. So anyway, I ended up winning the appeal. So I did 4.5 years, 3 years on the streets, and 4 more years. I did 8.5 years altogether.
Wow.
Yeah. And I have people ask me, Reggie, would you have done it like that again or done the straight 9.5 years? And I can't answer that. I know that 3 years of freedom helped me, but to go back in was hard. But at the same time, I never know. The only thing I remember, one of my brothers, everybody was like, boy, you started a business, you did all that's cool. One guy came to me and said, man, what I respect is you're not walking around bitter. I don't see it. And hating. Go ahead.
No. And I was going to say, when I first met you back in August, it was just like when you said what happened, it was just like, that was what the first thought that popped up, like, you're not angry, you're not mad. I know your faith and spirituality played a huge part.
That's it. I can't name nothing else. Reason. If it wasn't for that out of the body belief, man, I'd have been hating police. I'd have been hating white people. I'd have been hating the government. And that stuff will be still sitting in me. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. If you know what helped me the most, though, On my CBN documentary, I was in the cell. I had went to trial. The judge coerced the jury. It's a real movie. I've already got film producers actually turn my life story into a movie. But he coerced the jury. I get illegally sentenced. They bring me back in. I was cursing God out. I really was. That's why I tell people God accepts you where you are. I was like, where the F were you when my mother was beating me? Where were you when these dudes was chasing me home, jumping me? Where were you when I was hungry, just having it out, throwing stuff in the cell? And I remember releasing it. I remember him saying to me, I have a purpose for it all. That's what helped me understand. In the Bible, Joseph was a person that was thrown in and sold into slavery by his brothers and done wrong because he was a dreamer. At the end of it, when he was raised next to the king Joseph, he said, what man meant for evil, God meant for good. I'm in the place that God wanted me at. Oh, man, that thing helped me. It hurt me at first. I'm like, God, you had to take me through all this? No, it's stuff I did, but I wouldn't be traveling, helping people, doing what I do now if it wasn't for what I went through. I wouldn't be this strong.
Yeah, no, listen, I completely agree. I mean, I've had I don't even want to say a similar experience, right? But we talk about, the trauma and the trials and tribulations that impact our life. Just so for people that know me and have seen me speak, they know that back in 2000 and I guess it was 2003, had an argument with a school police officer when I was in college. I ended up getting and arguing with police is going to be problematic for you, right? Especially I went to a school called Bloomsburg. It was a rural town where the average age was about probably in their 50s, 50-year-old white people and older. And so I got into this argument and, I said, listen, I'm going to beat you up over a cup of soda, right? Told you I'm going to punch you in your face, X, Y, and Z, take your gun off. But what happened was that was me expressing my hurt, expressing my pain and frustration because I didn't have the verbiage needed to say, listen, I feel like I'm being racially profiled, which people agree that I was. But what happened was I ended up getting kicked out of school. I ended up getting arrested, right? I ended up having to do, only had to do 48 hours at jail. So I can only imagine what 4 years in, then leaving for almost 3 years and then going back for 4 years would do, right? That 48 hours was enough for me.
Especially in your mind when you've done right. The hardest thing is just like being married to a woman. You take care of her, you bless her. And men, they say men cheat. You honor her, and then you find out she cheat. Man, that's what make a man a black man, of course, want to kill everybody because you're doing right. So that was the hardest point. I'm going back in here and I was changing my life. That's what hurt the most.
Yeah. And just to finish that up, that was probably about, it started off as misdemeanors. I had probably about 20 misdemeanors, right? And I knew if I would have I took the plea deal because I knew if I would have went to trial, I wasn't going to get a jury of my peers, nobody that looked like me.
Not in that town you're talking about.
Yeah, no, not at all. But what I always tell people is, and the reason why I tell that story is because that was one of the most pivotal points in my life, right? I recognized that the way that I was coping, the anger that I used, and the way that I expressed myself, it was unhealthy. It might lead me in a place to where I didn't want to be, and it led me there, right? And so I just had a reminder of that yesterday. So that was 16 years ago. I finally filled out the information to get it expunged. Right? They say, listen, if you've had 7 years of no issues or what have you. So I finally filled out the paperwork, attached my criminal history. And so, because when I was going to jobs, I would have to explain why I have to check off, have you ever been convicted of a crime? Right? Yeah. And so I finally mailed it off. I got it back in the mail yesterday and it said I have to pay $172 filing fee. And I literally sat there and tears started to come down, right? Because I'm just like, here I am trying to push myself forward. I've done what I needed to do, right? As far as learning how to cope, learning how to deal with my emotions. However, this incident during that one period of that unhealthy decision, it impacts us. And that's why, I tell that story, but again, it can be transformative if we use it right. Right. And so when let's see, hopefully it come back on. We there? All right, cool. Yeah, I got you. It's transformative when you go through these things and you make it out to the other side, right? So when I see people, go ahead.
No, I was thinking about what you were saying, and just to tell on myself, the biggest problem is I see what especially our African American men and our Latino too, you're raised around anger. You're raised around defending yourself. You're raised around violence. My temper got me in a lot of mess. Yeah. I've messed up friendships. I've messed up fights because my hot temper, my mother was violent. But at the same time, like you said with the police, we all react that way. And becoming a Christian, trying to be humble, I had to get counseling and the Bible. Some people think it's just spirituality. No. And one of my sisters in Christ, on that. Yeah, I was going to say, one of my sisters in Christ told me, she said, Reggie, I had to go take counseling for something I went through in my life to peel back the layers. And I had to understand that because it's an insecurity and a bullying still down in me. So when somebody even, man, I used to swing on people for looking at me wrong. So I know when they talk to me disrespectful, and I'm like, that's still here at 43, and I'm this businessman. I still have to, it ain't the same, y'all. I ain't swinging on nobody. But at the same time, you can still feel it rise. There's two things I know you're going to have a desire for it's a different world now, but for sex. And you're going to have, you can't hide the political what people like. But also, you can't really get rid of your anger. You can control it. Because there's righteous anger for people molesting, doing people wrong. You're going to have anger. But when you can always stay in the spirit of offense. You got to find out down your line, what makes me get so, when people lie to me, do me wrong, turn their back, it's still an anger there from how I was raised. And I went to this class, the spiritual class, and they showed me you way back there still dealing with that. It showed up, it popped up. And I'm like, yo, I got to get this healed because not just for work. I can be like, there's a lot of successful multimillionaires that are mean as I don't know what. You wouldn't even want to do business with them. So I can be financially successful. I probably could still go on the pearly gates with an attitude, but I don't have peace that way. They used to pick at me, bro. We playing basketball. My homeboys be like, watch this. Hey, boy, Reggie, you suck. You sorry I dropped the ball ready to fight. They're like, look, so I had that. Been at a gas station and one of my friends said they seen somebody arguing. They said that was Reggie over there. They'd have been fighting by now. And to look back at that, you can't control your own wall. This is a scripture about that. You have no defense because everything that pricks you makes you angry. Nobody want to be around nobody like that all the time. So I understand what you're saying, and that's what we fell in at. We're always quick to answer with anger because of what we come. You have to get healing. You have to get counseling for their issues that are down deep.
No, that's real. And what you're saying is you had to recognize what your triggers are. And I'll let people know that, your triggers are going to be your triggers. They never just go away, right? They never just go away. You just learn how to deal with them. And so when we talk about emotions, people always ask me, Phil, are you happy? And for some people, they want to say that, yes, I'm happy, which is a beautiful thing. But for me, if somebody asks, am I happy? I say, well, my goal isn't to be happy, right? My goal is to be able to experience every emotion fully, right? I want to be able to sit with every emotion. So when happiness comes, I want to be able to appreciate it. When sadness comes, I want to be able to know how to deal with it. When anger comes, because they're all going to come, right?
So you experience, you know how to handle it. Okay.
So if you recognize what your triggers are, if you allow yourself to just take a moment and feel things, right? See, where we are now in society where we don't feel comfortable being alone, right? I made a post about this. I might repost it tomorrow. But, if our phone go down, if our phone get cut off, we're going to figure out a way to get our phone cut back on, right? Because imagine having to go a day without our phone and have to be with ourselves. We're just not comfortable. And I'm a prime example. Sometimes I wake up in the morning, the first thing I pick up is the phone, right? But I'm learning how to implement time throughout the day where I can just be in my thoughts, where I can just be silent, when I can feel. So a lot of people, we learn how to cope when that anger comes up. We need to express it some way instead of, because
there's another way to deal with it, right? Instead of the person.
It's uncomfortable. Who wants to, if somebody's talking about you, it's uncomfortable to allow those feelings to sit there. And so we lash out, right? But if we're able to sit through these feelings that we're experiencing, that doesn't mean just sit and take it. That might mean removing ourselves from the setting, right? But again, when we talk about being black men or just men in general, and masculinity, we have to prove ourselves. I have to prove that I'm a man, right? In these situations.
Yeah, my hardest point, and I've seen it lately and still battling with it, is being able to talk soft when somebody's aggressive at me. Oh, it's okay, it's cool. I battle in, not that I can't do it, but I find myself battling in me that I think I'm a punk or I think I'm weak. So you're doing me wrong and I'm trying to talk humble. It still bothers me. Much as I'd have been in this word and teaching everything, it's like I'm feeling still that I'm looked at like you can run over me. Instead of understanding that it's strength in being humble. You're not weak. Like they always say in the Bible thing, Jesus is one of the strongest men we know of read. But at the same time, for me, I still backlash to when I was getting bullied, and it still pops up. That's why you have people who are in professional settings who are bosses or CEOs that they're mean or I don't know what, because they were bullied. They're control freaks. They have these, this is where it's going to be. And so I have to rechannel myself and realize that, man, I still have a problem in this setting of this situation, talking soft when I know someone just came at me. You this and cursing me out. I'm like, who you? Now, I'm glad I'm not at the level of swinging first, but like you said, I have to walk off sometime. I can't stand there while you spitting and talking. No, not me. I got to get out the room. And so sometimes, but then sometimes there are practicing of things I've learned to think and showing, okay, this person has an issue. It ain't about you. It ain't nothing to do with you. If I can catch myself and go through the thoughts I've been taught, sometimes that diffuses it. You're still blessed. They can't stop nothing. It's certain things. What I'm saying is like affirmation. I begin to think, and it'll diffuse it. But most of the time, it depending on the level of the aggression of the other person. And I try to help people, especially from the hood. Man, listen, if you swing, what are the accountabilities? When I was in prison and I was the one doing the counseling with dudes and I was helping them, I would tell them, I said, man, every time you turn around, you go into the hole of the shoe. You ain't going to see your kids. You ain't going to get no visits. So you need to put your kids up and see you want to see your son. That has to be that you not know. I know what we got to assert in this joint, what we got to do. But you got to be able to have something else to look forward to that you don't give up on it. You don't knock this dude out because he stepped on your shoe. One thing we don't like in prison, somebody sweeping your feet with a broom, crazy stuff like that. You'll get half killed for that. But what is you, for what? Manhood and pride and respect is the hardest things coming out of our community.
Facts. And just to briefly touch on 2 points that you made. One, coping is a learned behavior, right? And I heard you say that. I heard you say that your mom was violent. My mom could curse somebody out with the best of them, right? She always laughs when I say that, right? She's like, "That I know I taught you something else besides cursing." I said, "Mom, but I learned that from you, right? I learned what I saw." And so we have to be mindful of that we learn how to cope, right? You saw violence and that's what you internalized, right? And it showed itself. The other point was that you hit on was the fact that a lot of times when we're in uncomfortable situations, it's not the 35-year-old, it's not the 40-year-old that's responding, it's the 12-year-old, it's the 16-year-old person responding. And so when we're responding in that way, it's gonna lead to unhealthy situations. And so what I always, encourage people to do, especially brothers, listen, that's gonna pop up, right? I know it's gonna pop up when I'm feeling uncomfortable when somebody says something, because it's not me. 35-year-old Phil, he gonna handle it. He thorough. 12-year-old Phil, he gonna get self-conscious. He might have low self-esteem. He might get sad. Exactly. So I need to show him love. Like, yo, I got it. Right, I understand. I did this on Sunday. I made a video about it where I was about to go into a setting. It was at a bar. I didn't want to drink, right? But I went because I said I was going to go to support some really dope people. But one of the components was I was about to go in a social environment where I knew nobody, right? I knew nobody. And so the shy, self-conscious feel started to come up, right? And I had to sit there, like you said, I had to sit there and remind myself, like, listen, you don't need a drink to go in there and be able to engage people, right? You have the skills necessary to deal with whatever setting. So, and that's what I hear you say when you say, listen, when somebody comes up and I'm like, you know what? I have empathy for them, right? When I'm talking to these young brothers, because I was there, I can see a little bit further than they can see, right? And that's critical, especially in our interactions. And I think that's what allows people like you and I to really have even a longer reach, right? Because we can see past. We're not just seeing what's on the surface. We understand. So when you go talk to the young brothers in the hood, or no matter where you go, you're able to see something further. When I'm sitting there talking to the 12-year-old, or it was a big young boy, I was like, Dad, he reminded me of me. He came in like, shh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And I hear the teachers yelling at him, and they just happen to be white teachers. Yo, see that? I said, young fella, come here, man, come here. Like, you don't want to be here. Why you don't want to? He said, man, I just don't feel like it. I was like, man, listen, I get it. If I was your age, I wouldn't want to be here either, right? But listen, I got some information I'm going to give you. You might not hear for the rest of your life, right? I'm here because I love you, right? So you could be frustrated, you could be mad, but I want you to be here, right? Because I understood, because I was that person. I saw myself in him. And so, again, I think that's why, you know, the reach that we have and just connecting with people, right? Because even just the authenticity around it, where, you know, you and I both are able to connect with white folk, right? From an authentic place, right?
That's right.
Because we're able to recognize, you know, we recognize the historical trauma that's existed throughout life, but we're still able to judge people for who they are right then and there, right? And so I can't, you know, I'm not going to hold you to the level of your ancestors, right? I respect you as a person. Now I'm going to respect you on the content of your character and how you interact with me.
If you don't, not saying that you can't be pro-black and not be global, but what I'm called to be is a global person. And I'm called from my spiritual Christian teaching to love everybody. And now you're trying to mix that with the thug dude who don't want people getting over on him. But I have to be frank. My left and right hand are white. My best friend is a female and a white dude. Now, they have interactions with people don't understand. My best friend that's white, that's a female, only date black guys. She knows both plight. My other guy who I came up with, he used to be with the Mexican mafia, being in black gangs. So they know both sides. But at the same time, when you see us walking up, people see who's supporting me. I didn't plan it that way. I did not. So what I'm saying is, like you said, God had to show me your story is bigger than you. Then when I'm doing this toy line, I know how, because if I don't, I'm going to be aggressive, Reggie. Because people can get ornery in a black setting or a white setting. They can think that they better, especially, I get so deep on this against white people in the struggle. I say, man, when I go in a wrong neighborhood wearing my Victus watch and my outfit, I got to watch out if this young brother going to rob me. It's just real, and he look like me. So either way is a terror. We talking about white and white, but what about my black neighborhood where they don't really treat me like they love me? I'm scared to go over there at night. You talking about KKK. What about my brothers with these pistols? So it's something to understand of the person, of being able to understand that, like you said, it's not where they came from, who they are. Martin Luther King had white people marching with him. Malcolm X has some white Muslims now. So it's a lot of things that then change, and understanding that we can't keep doing that. Now, at the same time, of course, I want to see my black people win, these young brothers and everything. But I done did a couple of business deals with my people, man. I don't want to talk bad about it. I'm just saying. I done did a couple of business deals with my people, man. And it's just what they've been taught, not the professional. But it's always also sometimes feeling like we competing. Brother, I'm in my own lane. Even if you try to steal my idea, you can't be me. You ain't do that time in the prison. You ain't have a mother that was on drugs. When I go speak and people cry after I speak, you authentic. That came from my life. I ain't worried about you stealing. It's going to fall apart. But, man, I done seen people just compete. I'm like, brother, we ain't in the barrel.
Yeah, and what it is it's because when I always talk about that Black Enterprise experience, and always encourage other brothers to go down there. Because again, this is something that we deal with when we talk about hip hop. Hip hop is driven on competition, and so that's ingrained in me, right? Even if it's a billion people in the world, but we often operate from a place of scarcity, like it's not enough, right? Because especially with social media, and we might follow, a couple hundred, 1,000 people. So all we see are them, right? And so that's what we compare ourselves to, and that's our competition. When in reality, it's so much like what was it? Paid in full. Like, it's room for everybody to eat, big.
It is. And you know why? So because everybody has a unique gift.
Exactly.
Everybody has a gift. Everybody don't like Papa John's. Everybody don't like Pizza Hut. Everybody don't like Coca-Cola. Everybody don't like Pepsi. So when I always tell it, because I've had guys come to me and say, Reggie, I don't want to do fashion. Everybody doing that. But they're not doing it your way. if that's your gift and it makes you happy, and especially you feel a spiritual, whatever connection to it, do it. There's going to be a certain lane that people want you. I teach on that so much. I said, man, when I used to hear myself speak, like, brother.
I keep it a bean. You talking to me right now, right? Because like I'm gonna keep it real. It's something I've been going through now for about the last 5 months, right? I started writing my book in December, and it was just like I stopped in a sense, like, why somebody want to hear from me, right? Why do somebody no matter me going to these various places, again, talking to people, talking about my story, knowing I have a wealth of information, knowledge, people saying that's dope and real, brother, right? It's still something ingrained in us, right? Where, again, it's that comparison, and why would somebody want to hear me, right? And so I finally came to the conclusion that, you know what, I have no choice, right? Because I'm going to be more upset by not being the best me, showing me whether, you know, and then again, it goes to this idea of writing the book. We got to be Charlemagne. We got to be Common on the New York Times bestsellers list, right? Like,
there you
like
go.
Somebody, like 15 people in North Philly having my book is not a good thing, right? It's not a good thing. Even with the podcast, it was a period of time where I stopped recording because I'm seeing the Joe Budden podcast getting 1 million hits a week, and I'm getting I'm getting 75.
That happens.
But I'm like, damn, that 75 is amazing. The fact that 75 people want to tune into you, right? So,
but let's talk about the time period, though. I went through that for a while. When I would speak, to me, I would go back and listen to the tape. I sound country and hood. I'm like, I don't even like the way I sound, man. I ain't thinking about the people, grown people actually cry, came up, want to take a picture like I was a celebrity. I'm measuring myself with the articulate of a Les Brown. E.T. just wow, but his power, his strength, we became to come in a comparison of us.
Facts.
And so then also I had to learn the Tyler Perrys and the Oprahs. This man was homeless for 7 years. This ain't happened overnight. So when you start your show, it takes a season. They didn't start. Anybody that gets it overnight won't hold it long. And so that's when I started saying, hold up. Man, I can be just as great, because once you find something that people need, that's how I'm doing business. It's a need or a want. You're going to make money. Let's just be for real. But the timing of growth is a blessing for us, because we learn how to be strong and be wise during the season. So you got to start off with 75. You start off with too many, you won't know the rough bump. You got to start off there to keep growing. And that's what is in my other book. I studied what helped me so much. You're talking about a dude that was suicidal, slap you in the face with a pistol in a minute, didn't care about life. The reason that I made it was in starting to understand it. I started studying. Oprah was told she was too fat, back, and ugly for TV. Start studying. Even Jim Carrey was homeless when he was in it. I started Will Smith, all of them. They bleed the same blood as me and had worse. The situations are the same. They're not superhuman. So once I got in my mind, I had to keep wealth of knowledge. I kept showing myself, Reggie. I always have a story when somebody tell me, when I was in prison, and I know this, how God was showing me I was going to be successful. I was in prison thinking about my life. Mother was on drugs. She was in prostitution. I was shipped from house to house like an orphan, all this. Somebody gave me a Jet magazine. And really, when we get the Jet, we're looking for the beauty of the week. That's what we looking for.
Beauty of the
week. So when I got the magazine, it was a lady in there that was a prostitute left for dead behind a dumpster. Prostitute left for dead. She got into a 12-week, 12-step program. Cleaned up. Now, like what I said, you got to accept the help that God sent. She didn't have to go through this program. They found her. She went through the program. Ended up back in college. This lady became a 6-figure lawyer. After being a prostitute left for dead. So God kept showing me, you, no matter where you're starting at, you have the potential to be great, because somebody needs you. It's proven. So why do we ostracize ourselves and look at these people like they're great? Are you looking at their stories and understand where they came from? They lived hard, terrible, defeated lives before. From the Bishop T.D. preachers, he'll tell you, I was homeless, couldn't keep the lights on. I was preaching to the same 20 people in my church for years. People don't hear all that. They look at him who he is and he did something. No. So what you're saying is, and I encourage you to speak life into you, brother, I know you got something. I know you got something. But when it comes up, always give yourself time. Breathe. Give yourself time. Like, look. Yeah, no doubt. I'm preaching to myself now, because I wanted to be a million overnight. I ain't gonna lie, because You know why? I wanted to prove to my family and people who turned their back on me. It wasn't so much of me. I wanted to prove to people that can hurt you. I wanted to prove to them. And so when it don't start working, oh man, this book ain't, because I was supposed to be having a talk show. Somebody want to do a TV show around me. I had to cancel it. Now, man, I done posted this. I done said this. Every time I keep going, something else greater happens. And so it's just a point of pressure of you really trying to prove to somebody and understand somebody wants what you have. And even if you can't compare it, because go compare what they went through is what I'm saying. Understand it took time.
Yeah. No, for sure, for sure. I think a lot of times we operate from a shame perspective, right? And I tell people, when we wake up, a lot of times we starting from a shame perspective where we might wake up a little bit late and it's just like, oh man, I'm behind schedule. What am I doing? And if we go down that rabbit hole of negative self-talk, right? So by the end of the day, we're so mentally drained because we've had so many negative thoughts that we think throughout the day that it was a study that showed that we have approximately 50 to 60,000 negative thoughts a day, right?
Oh, wow.
Some consciously, some unconsciously, because we have, I think, about over 100,000 thoughts a day. Again, we might just be walking down the street. That's literally a thought, when your foot goes in front of one another. So we think about the conscious ways that we're the negative self-talk and that we're adding to it. We got to do a better job at. I have to do a better job at. And once we get there and we start to recognize that, you know what, again, I do have the skill set necessary. I do have the talent needed.
There you go. And speak what you have. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it can't be about anybody else. When I talk to people about starting therapy, when I went back to therapy, my first session, like when I walked in the room, I just burst out in tears. So it was like a weight release, right? And then at the end of it, she was like, Phil, you think you're going to come back? And I was like, yeah, my daughter could benefit from it. My family could benefit from it. And she was like, well, what about you?
Well, what about you? Right.
It's like me. But again, when we start things, yes, it may start for somebody else. But if it doesn't end about being about us, then it's no way it's going to be successful. There's no way it's going to be successful. Get into this last point, because I think we touched on a lot of good things. And so I want to get into, especially you being an entrepreneur, and how are you coping, right? How do you cope with the highs and with the lows outside? Because we know, through this conversation that faith and spirituality has played a big part. But what other things do you do to cope?
I keep accountability partners around me. And like I said, people I can talk. You men especially, we can't do this on our own. You need someone to talk to. And like I said, and one of my biggest things, like I said, I love success stories. I love watching and learning how they failed and got back up. I love hearing how people didn't start till they 40. It gives me strength. And that's one of my biggest things besides faith. You know what I mean? I go to the movies. I relieve stress. I'm a movie man. I love movies, all that type of stuff. Yeah. But there's a saying: you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. If you don't have the right core around you who can speak and correct you, don't be your yes man. You in trouble. So I keep accountability, and I always watch other people. When I can go and turn on something. I have this thing I do when I speak. Like you said, it was so powerful about negative. I sit down in between two people, and I'm like, listen. I'll do an example, and I'm like, you be the negative, you be the positive. I'm like, you just heard this big black dude named Reggie say you can be strong, you can be powerful. He came from prison, mother's on drugs, he's been on TV, all that. And you start getting hyped. And then the negative will speak, well, man, you ain't him. Your mother was this. Then the positive will say, but God can do it. And what happens, I show them the negative will always get louder. It always gets louder. So I always tell people I got this thing, I say, change the channel. So, because sometimes you can't battle in your mind. What change the channel mean? I'll turn on Les Brown. I'll turn on Joel Osteen. I'll turn on what's his name? Eric Thomas, or it's another guy, the big tall white guy that's a big powerful speaker. I'll turn them on so what's coming in, I can't hear nothing but that. I don't have time to battle the negative. And if you can't get to a phone or a computer, then I'm saying you have to be able to have a wall built up, which meaning is, when you're in your spare time doing nothing, keep reading your affirmations, because what you're doing is building yourself up for tomorrow, because tomorrow going to bring another thing. Something's going to happen. It's just earth. But when you've built, I call it keep your spiritual and your mental tank full. When you're going on a journey, I ask the audience, what do you first do? You put gas in the car. So you're on a life journey. You can't take on this world half empty. So what I tell people, when something happens to me immediately, I pray immediately. Because if not, I wait 2-3 days and it's bouncing off the wall. You have to attack it immediately and keep your wall built up for your defense, because this is life, especially with my record and where I'm coming from. And looking around, I don't have mom and pops to call for help. And so I have to believe in God for me, and I have to keep myself built up with things that combat the negative. Oh, Reggie, you ain't going to make it. Your mama's on drugs. But what about that woman that was a prostitute left behind for dumps and became a lawyer? What about when they told Oprah? I done got so hyped, I done snatched the phone out.
I know, I'm about to say, somebody done got you.
Hold on, let me get these. All right, we at the end. Let me just hold it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, so what I'm saying is I've read so many stories and video podcasts that something automatically pops up when a negative comes. The only way I get so weak is when I fight it. You get what I'm saying? But I've been waiting months, and I built myself up with energy to battle. Yeah.
We got 20 seconds left, Reg. Plug your stuff, what you got going on, and how can they get in contact with you?
Instagram is Reginald_Foreman. My website is what is my name? ReginaldForeman.com. Let's talk about this, man. My toy line, Reggie line, he speaks positive. You can't hear him. He speaks positive affirmation to kids that you're smart. What he is help people believe in themselves, their dreams, and God. And why this is so more important to me, I'm an African-American ex-offender creating a toy line. The only thing if you look up we're known for is the Super Soaker. You got black kids that done a couple of books and a couple of dolls. But this guy, man, the people that are coming to me, I call him the faith-based Mickey Mouse. I'll show him again. And why is it so important? Well, this is the prototype right now. When you squeeze him, he speaks. Man, God, I'm doing the app. I'm doing the coloring book. I'm doing everything that Mickey Mouse did. Cartoon, everything. Yeah. From me, the ex-offender. And this is going to give the kids, he's going to speak 5 different languages, French, Spanish, everywhere. So when the kids hear it in other foreign countries, they can believe they're strong, they're smart, believe in God, they believe in their dreams, because from the toddler to the 2-year-old, they run around, whatever they hear, they become. So that's why he's going to be combated in. But I'm so proud of that. But to expound on the end of it, my book, There's Purpose in Your Pain, that came out.
Go ahead, show it again. Show it again. Because show the book again. Yeah, show both books.
There's Purpose in Your Pain. It's my new book. But what helps that, and Live Determined, what helps this is, I have to tell people, each one of my projects or accomplishments came after pain. Illegally sentenced in prison. I lost a fashion magazine deal. I had twins. Me and my wife then were pregnant twins, and our girl daughter died at 15 weeks. And that's how Reggie the Lion came to life, because I was like, God, what? Man,
I'm sorry, it went out.
Yeah, it went out. Me and my daughter were pregnant with twins. And, we had a boy and a girl. No, me and my wife. What am I saying? Me and my wife were pregnant with twins.
We're going to edit that out, too. I know.
Yeah, me and my wife were pregnant with twins, and my daughter died at 15 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. My son made it. He was born premature at 2 pounds, 1 ounce. And he's a healthy, beautiful baby boy. But it was so hard then, because my wife couldn't believe why God would let this happen. And then all the stuff I've been through, I'm like, everybody's celebrating. You got twins. Man, they were crying like, man, we love y'all story. And then I came from my event. I was doing 21 Days of Greatness, my own events. 3 days after the event, I'm in the house. I heard my wife scream. I go upstairs. She's standing over a puddle of water. And so I'm big faith, man. There ain't no way God should let my daughter die. There's no way. Or a child die, because I didn't know then what it was. Now, there's no way God would let it happen. She was like, maybe I peed on myself because she has fibroids, growth in here that cause pressure on her uterus. And so we said, yeah, she took a shower, laid down. An hour later, I heard a harder screech. I went upstairs. She was sitting on the edge of the steps. She said, look, she was trembling. I looked. It was 2 feet coming out her vagina. And I said, oh, my gosh. She said, I've never seen no fear in your eyes like that. Ran to the hospital and found out, yes, your daughter came early. She died. And so went through a lot of travesty with that. And I had to be strong for her. And I had to encourage her, because she was done with the Bible, done with God and all that. I had to encourage her, and I said, listen, you have another child in you. You need to be strong for him. That's the only way she kept going, was because it was our little boy. And he came early, 27 weeks. And he was in the hospital 75 days. So after encouraging them, I sat down with God. I said, now we got to talk. I said, I don't understand this from all I've been through. Why would you, what good does it come out of you allowing my daughter to die? I know you didn't kill her, but you could have saved her. We have this real talk. And all I was remembering was there's purpose in your pain. And what came to my mind was MAD, the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, when this woman started an organization after her daughter was killed by a drunk driver at 13. And see, Reggie the Lion used to be a cartoon on the front of my shirts for my kids, like Ralph Lauren did Polo Bear. And I started having visions, brother, of him becoming a doll, a toy. Just started hitting me, like him speaking and everything. I was like, what? And then I started writing. I was at my side job, writing the movie script, writing the cartoon. It was flowing like water. So that's how I told me. That's how I know when God is speaking to me, because I don't have to get, it just started flowing. I write stuff down. I done sat down with Event Help. I done sat down who did the George Foreman Grill. Of course, they wanted 20% of my company and $16,000 up front to go in their databanks. I said, y'all trying to rape me with no Vaseline. Y'all lost your mind. That ain't going to happen. Yeah, I was straight. So it's a big thing. But like I said, again, I share this because what are you doing with your pain? There's purpose in it. Many organizations or people successfully made it because they were pushed by what they came out of. Somebody needs to hear your story. There's an invention in you from what you went through. People who didn't have lights, they created the light bulb. They couldn't get on the phone, they created the telephone. What you're going through can become a product. And that's what I teach in my business. There's purpose in your pain. ReginaldForeman.com.
My man. Well, Reg, listen, man, I appreciate you. Hopefully I see you at the, are you going this year?
Hey, I'm thinking about it, man. Hey, I'm kind of, we'll have to talk off, but I ain't been seeing them pushing it like last year. I'm kind of like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Me and Frank, was talking yesterday on the phone with, Frank that won the award, my little bro. And I was like, yo, I only seen one pup push in April. Now they ain't pushing it. So I don't know. I'm trying to see if I'm going. I got the ticket for being from Nashville, and I'm trying to see if I'm going to fork that money over with the plane and the hotel. I'm trying to see if it makes sense. Because I definitely got a lot going on, man. Yeah, I got a lot going on with traveling and stuff. So I'm still thinking is my answer.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, man. We'll definitely be in contact.
Yeah, man. Finally, we got it on, man. People don't understand how long this was, man.
Yeah, right.
But it was good, man. Man, I encourage you, bro. You're doing a good thing. I like the way you articulate yourself. I like the way you can touch on different topics. That's what make a good interviewer. Man, you're doing a great job. I've been on 40. That other paper said 28. That was an old one. I did change it. I've been on 41 interviews. Sometimes I got to feed them. You're doing good questions. It's a good dialogue. So what I'm saying is, bro, you're needed. You're doing a good job, which is a good interview. And I can tell you from how many I've been on. And so from what you know and the knowledge of being able to touch on mental health, you definitely got something, because that's what's in right now. People, they told me I'm the poster child for mental health because of what I've overcame. And Reggie, you're going to get paid all this to speak. But I know that's where you are. So what I'm saying is, again, to empower you, you are needed right now. Your book is right now. Things happen in seasons. Bro, don't wait. Write your book now, because that's the wave right now. Not just jumping on the wave, but you understand what I'm saying? Helping our black men understand that we don't want to go see no counselor. You can be able to prove that that's needed. Right, man, I'm not going to sit up and talk to especially not no white person, so we all go through that in our head. But, brother, you're showing that you can be masculine and still get counseling and get help. So what I'm saying is the book you write, the talks you do, you definitely need it. Don't get it twisted.
All right, brother. Listen, I'm taking it, and I appreciate you, for real. Much love to you, brother.
Man, God bless. Appreciate you, man. And, hey, man, we'll talk again later.
All right, peace.
All right.